Welcome to the Barbell Strikes Back. I'm James McDermott, joined by Miguel Porter. Miguel, what's up?
Nothing much. Uh, Kind of feels like we're slowly getting into summer now.
I've given up on summer. It's not
Yeah,
happening.
it's kind of been like delayed. I think weather this week was a little bit more regular.
Yeah, it was. It was a little sunnier. There were some muggy days. It was still a mix, you know. I
Right.
did get my pool pass though for the towers,
Nice.
so it's so late. I'm doing this. Like it's June 15th today, which we're halfway through June.
Yeah.
It's a 30-day month. So as of today, there's only 15 more days. So I feel like in addition to being unsatisfied with the weather, it's going to be September and I think we're all going to be upset with how fast quotes summer went by. It's going to be
Right.
ridiculous. Um and I don't like that. But there's nothing we can do about it. It is what it is. Maybe we shouldn't be categorizing or enjoying life based on what the weather or the season should be, you know, kind of like
Yeah.
because like what are we expecting here? Like it'll just be sunny and warm all the time and we're at the everyone's out by the water or the beach or just enjoying it. Like I don't know. What's our
Yeah.
expectation
I,
here?
I was I was saying yesterday to some friends that I think it's time to just force the issue.
Yeah.
Like, uh, we had a proposal within the friend group, um,
Nice.
and we were worried about like rain and all that because it's just been raining for all these weekends straight on, like we talked about before. But yeah, we were talking about just we just have to do things. If we're waiting on the weather, then nothing's ever going to get done. Like you said, we're already halfway through June. Like you kind of just have to do whatever you were thinking in your mind of like what summer was. Like you just have to do the things anyway.
Yeah. Like for me, I actually I haven't been out on my balcony at all this year. And last year in May or maybe even April, I had my shade sail up. I had my table cleaned. I had swept it. And I was just out there whenever I could, enjoying the sun and doing computer work. And I just haven't gone out there yet because I just haven't been happy with the conditions. But I just need to go out there. I
Yeah.
just need to sit out there. And then that's when you start to realize, all right, it's not that bad. Like
Yeah.
it's just I was looking out through a window, not even going outside and feeling the temperature. That'll happen to me where I'll be up here and then I'll go to leave from work or to work, and I'm like, oh, it's actually not that bad out here.
Right.
But the whole time I have this other thing that I'm expecting to have happening. Like it's warm, there's a nice breeze, the sun is out, and it looks beautiful, and all this stuff. But it's kind of like how people will wait for the perfect conditions to start their fitness journey or something like, oh, it's
Yeah.
got to be on a Monday. Well, what's the expectation for a Monday? Why is that the thing? Oh, well, that's when the week starts. Okay, so because society decided the work week starts on a Monday, which not even for every people that's the case, that's
Yeah.
when you are going to like start to make steps towards improving your health and fitness. This is the same kind of insanity that we're
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
doing. But it's just funny because it never goes away. We all do the same thing. Well, no, it's this minor inconvenience, so I just won't do it today, you know.
Yep.
Or if I'm trying to diet, okay, I had a piece of candy at work. The whole day's ruined. Now it's just free reign, like because the conditions weren't right, even though they have no right to be right, anyways.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's funny. This is just a human thing that we all
Hmm.
do. It's I don't know. I don't know if this is how it was. When do you think this kind of like mindset started happening? Like,
I
all right,
think
if
it
you're in the
is.
1850s, are you waiting for like, all right, it's got to be a Monday or it's got to be this? Like, I don't know. Is it different today? Technology, what?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean, Industrial Revolution, people are still very much like, yeah, I go to work and I do this and that. But I maybe, hmm, yeah, I don't know if it was like the emergence of like the desk job
Hmm.
and then the emergence of like it's also not healthy to go out and drink every day after work. that made people like a little bit more sedentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, and then it's like the desk job is torturous. It's not normal to
Right.
sit for that long. So it makes sense that like, all right, I just need to like drink myself to oblivion to get through this essential torture. Or if you're doing manual labor, that's also
Yeah.
really, really hard. So of course you'd be done with that. And then you're like, it's time to drink now.
Yeah.
That's how I numb the pain. That's how I can like get a little bit of pleasure in my brain or whatever it is. Huh. Well, it's just we're at least fortunate enough in 2025 that we a lot of people have the flexibility just to decide now. Like, okay, I'll just start today or I'll start right now. It doesn't even have to be a fresh day.
Yeah.
Okay, I had pancakes and whatever for breakfast. You know what? I'm going to eat clean for lunch and dinner. Like you can literally decide to make a change anytime you want to. It doesn't have to wait. And sometimes when it waits, it compounds with other things. Okay, I want to exercise. I want to eat healthy. I want to hydrate. I want to sleep well. And then you just kind of get overwhelmed by just your giant to-do list now.
Yeah.
And you just have to pick one thing at a time or start really small on all those things. Because it's also not realistic to dive headfirst and be perfect. And we've talked about this before. It's amazing how we want it to be perfect when nothing we do now is perfect. Yet, if I don't have a perfect day of eating, I'll throw it all away. Or the week is a wash until next Monday, this arbitrary restart date. Or let's say it's November, January 1st, we're going to restart or whatever it is. And that'll just magically make it all work and all be okay. And it's not the case. It's like you could have started October 17th, which is a Saturday, and you're starting at dinner because the other two meals or the whole rest of the day wasn't ideal. So, you know what? I'm just going to have a healthy dinner, whatever that means to me. You have the power to do it anytime you want to. We just put these psychological barriers on ourselves. And they're also kind of societal too. Like it's just known that's what people do. You know, it's kind of when people contact us. Well, I want to do CrossFit, but I got to get fit before I do CrossFit.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you can get fit by doing CrossFit. And no one expects you to come in here and already have pull-ups, blah, blah, blah. We have people that have been doing this for a long time and they still don't have pull-ups or muscle-ups or these other things. But they have greatly improved their health and have done things that they never thought that they would do. So it's it's tough. It's also tough when you don't have good advice or someone to talk to about it, and maybe you're just reading articles or reading whatever, and then where's the information coming from? You don't even know, and they may not even know, or it could have just all been written by AI, and it just pulled things from every which way, and that's it. Isn't that going to be crazy that like people are going to be reading articles on improving their health and fitness in all different types of capacities, or getting eating plans and stuff all from AI? Like, isn't that a little weird that there could be a non-human component? Like, isn't that kind of like it's kind of like getting medical advice from the computer instead of like a human being that may have also had this other experience and be like, okay, that may not work for you because of this, but the AI is just going to give you a blanket thing.
Yeah, and I mean, for some people, I mean, they're already getting something similar. You know, those like cookie cutter, just whatever plans where you can tell someone just punched in whatever you gave them into like some sort of algorithm or like just an equation on an Excel, honestly, and that spits out whatever you should do and
weeks of percentages and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I think you can tell when, like, if you're a person who like is constantly reading articles, like the human elements of it, like a voice per se. But yeah, again, I guess it's like within your knowledge and like what you know to look out for. Like a recipe, I'm fine with just, you always get those spiels at the beginning where they tell you their life story and then the recipes at the bottom, and you know,
let's skip the life story. Yeah.
But
this video could have been 90 seconds. Instead, it has to be 5 minutes, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I Yeah, some people are already getting that kind of
Yeah.
run of the mill. Everyone gets the same thing. It's not specific anyway.
Well, and it's like going back to just like the life story thing. It's funny how like my mom enjoys that part of it. Like
Hmm.
I can't remember what her name was. British lady. She was like a big cooking guru. It's a pretty big name.
Julie,
Ooh,
Julia.
Childs, is that her? Is
Yeah.
right? Is that
Yep.
is okay? All right. So like, and like just that's like maybe 20-30 minutes, and it's like, oh well, hello, welcome back to my kitchen, and like yeah, when I was in Tuscany with the blah blah blah, and like
Hmm.
just loving the story and of it, versus like maybe today you and I are going to be more like, look, I don't have 20 minutes for your story, like I just tell me how to make the cookies, just
Yeah.
in like 90 seconds or whatnot. So it's like maybe it's a generational thing too, because like my mom already knows how to make the cookies, but
Hmm.
it's another thing. It's like, well, let me hear the stories and like, oh, isn't that nice? And the flowers and the little jokes. Like, I'm sure Julia Child had, like, of course she has the charm of it
Right.
too. But you and I aren't really searching for the charm. We're searching for the now. It's like when I'm looking for demo videos for you guys, like maybe it's an obscure exercise for either the warm up because you're making it up not in class or day 4. I hate when like it's like a hammer curl video that's 90 seconds because the guy's like, well, the hammer curl benefits this, and I'm like, all right, that's not
Right.
what I'm looking for. I already know. I just want Miguel to watch the 12-second video of you going from A to B so he understands what I want him to do.
Yeah.
And you that's all you want too, right? Like you might only click that link right before you're about to do that part of the workout, and you are not looking for a 2.5 minute video where you have to scroll to the very end to finally see the exercise. Um,
Yeah.
so
I think it's time and place as well. I think depending on the person, like a video, I am a little bit more cooking. Like I'll listen to the story or sometimes the context of like this meal is culturally significant. Here's why you use these specific ingredients. Like, because people always like to change stuff out, but like
yeah,
here's the difference maker in this. Or even a more modern idea, because I know that a lot of people do this, like fitness related influencers. Like you might watch them do a vlog and you're honestly the video's named like, oh, what I eat in a week or something, and you just want ideas. But
yeah,
because they're like related, like fitness adjacent, and that's kind of your realm, you will then go along in their week and watch everything that they're doing.
yeah.
So it depends what you're trying to get out of it.
I've I am noticing like more CrossFit Games athletes are posting vlogs now, or
Mm.
maybe it's becoming more of a common thing. Like they'll be driving, and then it shows them like when they're like there's a lot more production now. Like it shows
Yeah,
them
yeah.
walking into the gym and all that stuff. And there's a skill to that because
Hmm.
some of them I'm like, this is unwatchable. I'm so bored.
Right.
And like if they don't hook, I feel like if you're gonna do that, you need to hook them right away. Yeah, or at least you need to hook me right away. If it's a boring 20 to 30 seconds, I'm already off. I'm just like,
Yeah.
nope, nope. Like this is so boring. Um, and I find it's the most interesting ones are the people that aren't like the biggest stars, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm all for like Tia Toomey and stuff. Fittest woman in the world, probably the greatest CrossFitter of all time, all these things. But like I don't get hooked into those videos like I do some of the rookies.
Yeah.
Like those other videos, they're almost like a little too polished.
Hmm.
There's like a little product placement. It's just
Yeah. No, I know
too
exactly what you mean.
too commercialized now. I want to see the underdog, and they're like, yeah, I burnt my toast, but I still have to eat it. Kind of a deal. It's funny we were talking about that in Barbell Club, the shame of ruining a perfect steak, but you're still poor enough where you have to eat it.
Hmm.
Like you had like that steak costs $13. It doesn't matter if I accidentally burnt it to a crisp. I have to choke it down now. I can't just
Right.
throw it away because now you're just throwing away money. And then you just have to make a mental note. All right, 2 less minutes next time.
Yeah.
We'll try that experiment, and then you And that's part of the fun of like when you actually do cook your own meals, you start to look, okay, all right, for my oven, for me, all these things, it's
Yep.
8 minutes, but the AI said it's 10 minutes. Well,
Hmm.
I've done that so many times where, especially figuring out the air fryer. My air fryer came with a little manual. And it's funny, the manual stuff doesn't match up to what the air fryer actually does in terms
Mm.
of how long to put this thing in there. Like, all right, put an egg in there to make a hard-boiled egg and leave it in there for 13 minutes, the book says. And then it's like way overcooked and all this stuff. So because the heating element isn't what it's hyped up to be. Like I often have to leave things in either more or adjust the temperature down or up
Right.
depending on what I'm cooking, more than what that says. But then if I Google it, the AI on Google is like, we'll do it this way. And then I just have to figure out it's normally something in the middle. AI will say 8 minutes, the manual will say 12 minutes, 9 or 10 minutes is what actually works out. So
Yeah.
there's still going to be trial and error. And I don't think that should put people off into trying and doing it, you know? And to go back to what you were saying about, you know, the AI, you get programming off AI or something else or fitness advice. And then there's also spreadsheets, which spreadsheet culture in coaching has been around for a really long time,
Right.
ever
Yeah.
since there's been Excel. But it's up to the coach to um, make themselves more valuable than
Yeah.
a spreadsheet and or the AI, because there's a lot of things that I do that I know are McDermottisms that the AI can't do, you
Yeah.
know. And also the way we do our programming now, the AI can't really read and interpret what you guys are writing in your comments and what the rating you guys gave for a specific component really is, because the AI also wasn't in the room watching all the lifting,
Yep.
you know. And it's like that, what we talked about before. There's like a little screen there where someone will put a 4.5, and I'm like, I remember that. That was like a 3.7. Like, even though you guys won't give like the specific points, everyone only operates in 0.5 or whole numbers.
Yep.
I'll assign my own thing when I'm like looking at it. I'm like, well, was it a 4.5 or was it really like a 3.9? And there's a
Mm.
difference. There's a difference in that, you know. And then also, do your words match the rating you gave? It's pretty funny how like sometimes I'll read the card and I'm like, there's two different ratings here. You
Mm.
know, there's the number that you put down because you just had to think of a number real quick in the moment. And then there's the actual truth, which is what was written
Yeah.
next,
Yeah.
you know. Or how the workout actually went. You know, it's funny. Sometimes people will write easy or not that hard, but then the rating is like a 3.5, and it's like, all right, I thought you said it was easy. Like,
Yeah.
why didn't you give yourself more points? You know, it's just fun. It's just really funny the way that all works out. But
Yep.
like a spreadsheet, we don't even use spreadsheets for this stuff. It's just all on um, it's the only way we can like actually communicate it, you know, or just have that just kind of wash away and the number automatically goes up next week. But sometimes I bump numbers up bigger for some, less than others, you know. And that's how you guys end up in like those weird scenarios where it's like, wait, why are they doing the same weight as I am?
Yeah.
Well, your week last week was different than theirs, you know. Um, yeah, so that'd be a hard thing for AI to do because AI isn't actually experiencing anything. You know, it's not living anything. It
Yeah.
just pulls data. Um, do you notice a discrepancy in your own? Like, have you ever written like giving yourself a numerical rating on something that we do, and then you're like, my comments actually don't match up with that number.
Yeah. I would say it would typically be focus related then.
Hmm.
So, like, if I wanted to open up a lot more or like extend a little bit more, um, and I was just ducking under,
Yeah.
but they were very solid while I was doing that. I might rate a little bit differently because I'm like, yeah, I was able to get them and they felt good, but I'm trying to do this more and I
Yeah.
didn't succeed in doing that. Um, so yeah, I would say that that's typically if I was to do kind of words and number different, that would probably be the reason why.
And that makes sense. I bet there's a lot of people where that's similar, and it's just also good to see, any other like bonus comments that might be put in that are like outside of those things. And it's apparent that the wheels are turning on all components. We're not
Yeah.
just mindlessly lifting, even though it's just like it's so repetitive. So it's like it's cool to see that you guys can still continue to think of new things and new interpretations of the workout and new things that you want to get out of the session and new comments, like instead of just the same thing all the time. And the numbers may look the same all the time, but the words, they change a lot.
Yeah.
And that's where it's just how you're feeling for that day and everything that came before it, and recovering after the last session, a long weekend, whatever it is, how, or life in the moment, just how it plays into that.
Yep.
Um, if you're having a bad day, it shows up like that in the comments. If you're tired, or the words that you use, sometimes someone will be like, well, I made them all, but they felt weird today,
Yep.
like, but it's like, that's just, it's all valuable data. And this is the way we've figured out how to capture it all. That way, for me as a coach, I can make a meaningful declaration on what the next week's weight should be. And that's even if it's let's say on the back squats, you just notice a trend. Oh, every week he's just on Monday increasing by 5, on Friday increasing by 10. Well, it's like it's that is like consistent, but like my decision was reinforced with the numbers and the comments that you made.
Right.
And that's just a situation of where drastic measures didn't need to be taken. Like, we're just on the path.
Yep.
But then I'm sure within your own numbers, you've noticed where things will change from like either one movement to the next. Like, oh, like I've been granted this on the clean and jerk, but the snatch, it looks like this was a little more
Yeah.
conservative or something. Have you noticed that too, where it's like the movements differ on what you would have expected from the week before?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And that's just where, like, Haley might put a 2.5 for snatches, but a 5 on clean and jerks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, those are going to be completely, like, maybe we did too much the week before. And like, I can go back and look at the other cards and be like, okay, yeah, we did. I mean, she was saying 4.5s consistently, so I just kept bumping us up 5 kilos.
Yep.
Because I don't know where the limit is, but now I see there's a 2 point. All right, maybe that was a big jump the week before.
Yeah.
And now maybe this warrants, well, let's tone it back now. It's week 4, and we were able to do things before that we can't do now, or I just know from what she tells me, all right, life is crazy now, because we're never going to have perfect work scenarios and everything lining up with our training. Like on Friday, you had a rough snatch session, but you did what you had to do. And then I think you had a great clean and jerk session, even though it felt hard. I feel like that could have been a clean and jerk session a year ago that also could have gone bad.
Yeah, definitely.
What changed? Like, and how did you rein it in from part 1 to part 2? Well, I mean, part 1 was the back squat, but part 2 to part 3, where it's like, oh boy, darn it, today is going to be one of these awful days where nothing feels connected and stuff. That's hard to pull it back in for the clean and jerk.
Yeah, I mean, there's the major difference between like snatch and clean and jerk, where it's like the technicality of it and just feeling it is very important. You can a little bit ignore feeling with a clean just because it's a little bit more secure going to your shoulders first. You kind of have a lot more space to, like literally in where the bar ends up, and in terms of like, I can be a little bit back here, I can be a little bit forward here. It can be tough standing up, but I know that I'm secure. Whereas for a snatch, if you're kind of feeling that way, it's a little bit harder to ignore that or even to push past that. And then for
on a clean
jerk.
Well,
and then for me, the tough part is the jerk. But I was already going into it thinking of the way that I would have to jerk, or of the way that I'm kind of trying to do a little bit more. And it worked out. They were tough for sure. There definitely wasn't as much like spring as I would have liked, but I was able to get through them still.
Yeah.
Again, snatches are a little bit tougher in that sense. And then also, I think because it's the first one, you kind of have to make a decision when they're done of like, am I done for the day, or am I going to try to make something of the clean and jerks?
Yeah. And I think, you made a good decision on the snatch too. Whereas, I think what was it going to be 84 or something was going to be
Yeah.
the working weight.
Yeah.
And then, we couldn't go under 80, an old back thing was kind of flaring up in the moment. But then it's like, okay, I did 70. So let me just continue and do a couple more sets of 70. So it's not a complete wash. And it's not like there's not anything that can be gained from 70, and
Yeah.
it's not like there's nothing to be gained mentally and confidence wise to be like, okay, I can't do the heavier weight today just because of a physical limitation that I think we can't fix it right now. So the only option is to quit, sit out, go home, not even worry about the clean jerks,
Mhm.
or bump it down and like, all right, let me smooth out 70. Let me do what I need to do for 70. Try to move my feet, or at least try to get the lockout or the of vertical or whatever I'm trying to work on that day, and then let that feed into the clean jerk and see if I can do that.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, that's just it's so easy to quit,
Yeah.
like so like if we're going back to like, you know, it's it's easy just to tell yourself, I'll start on Monday. Let me just blow out Saturday and Sunday. One last hurrah, even though I've been doing 30 years of hurrahs,
Mhm.
on start on Monday. And it's also so easy to be like, well, I'll just quit for the day, or that was it, whatnot. It's just it's the easy things are easy for a reason, but they're
Yeah.
also maybe not the most productive things um, to do. I also like on the cards how we have the ability to, I could be working with Chris or anyone, and I'll be like, oh, put that on the card, like let's add this
Yeah.
to the card, here's a new
Mhm.
focus, or write this down because it's going to be a reminder so we can remember next week. Because, well, if we discover something that needs to be worked on or talked about consistently on a Wednesday, well, are we really going to remember it both by next Wednesday? But let's write it down. Like, I feel like we have a lot less loss in that department now because we have the cards. And then now it's like, you know what? Okay, I'll look at the card and I'll be like, well, hey, we can work on this on day 3 with the full lift too.
Yep.
So like, hey, we're working on that on Wednesday for the mid thigh. Well, I'll of course remember when I look at the Wednesday card next Wednesday when I'm doing the numbers. But it'll also be like, well, hey, let's do it here now. I feel like it'd be super easy for all of that to kind of get lost.
Yeah.
Get lost if we weren't making an effort to write things down and do our barbell paperwork. But also, it would get lost if you were only just getting your programming from AI and not working with someone, or get lost too if you're just solo. Like, imagine if you were just a solo lifter getting a program off of an app or something with no feedback and no people around you. Just imagine what your work ethic would be like, and keeping track of that type of thing, because, well, it's all in the app. I don't have to
Right.
physically write it down. um, I feel like in that scenario, that person, if they have a rough snatch thing or a challenge like you had on the snatch, they're going home. They're not
Yeah.
clean jerking that
Yeah.
day. um, so yeah, you just have to set in these systems, which are pretty easy. And well, actually, it's not. That's the thing. It's not easy. It's
Mhm.
not. It'd be way easier if all of you came in at your own convenience. Like, okay, I got out of work early. Let me just go in and get the session done on my own, instead of
Right.
having to wait till 6:15 and get out at 8 p.m. Um, or just the days would be better. Like, it is hard to come in consistently Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6:15 to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Um, those are big days. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays till 8 p.m. Boy, those are tough. We'd have an easier time, I think, maybe the schedule if it was Tuesday, Thursday, and then Saturday is day 3 in the morning, and
Mhm.
everyone maybe came in. I don't know. Maybe that's not true. Um,
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of us, it's like we've been doing it for years now. Like our lives have just adjusted in a way
Yeah.
to make way for it.
Barbell club is life. It
Yeah.
is life. And it's funny how it's fun seeing the new people come in and how they're like in a new world and they have to adapt to this.
Yep.
And they're going to make so many mistakes and just not quite get it until they get going. And I had two topics on that for today. Where's my notes? We can do those first, and then we'll get into Mission Impossible. Um, what was my first one on just a beginner coming in? Oh, learning how to do more with less.
Right. Yeah.
So it's you guys have figured out how to like not over pull, and it's very apparent where you miss your mark on just you needed to pull just a little bit more, you know,
Hmm.
or how to fully lose your legs, or to focus on getting low instead of the bar getting high. There's so many things, and beginners they want to do a lot, you know. All right, they see you do the snatch, and we may even be using the word jump, but that's just to relay to, people who aren't experienced on what the movement should look like or
Yeah.
feel like, or how do I even get this action to start? Well, jump with the bar, and but like you're not jumping.
Yeah.
When you're doing a 90 plus kilo snatch, you're not jumping. You're doing this thing that's in the jump family tree on a branch, a bunch of branches over, you know. So, but they're going to try to jump, which means they might try to jump very, very high. Might even tell them to do that because we're trying to get them to open their hips. They might try to pull the bar high because, well, how else would I get under it? Even though Miguel's bar is, if you were standing flat footed, it's just above your belly button,
Yeah.
and it's like scary low because there's a lot of mental things that have to go into letting it be low. So are you seeing with some of our newer people how it's like, wow, they're doing a lot to get that done. And they're doing a lot now in the early stages to figure out how to do less later and get more out of their movement. Like, do you see that with some of our new people?
Yeah. Definitely. It definitely like you have to build the confidence or the trust in yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can definitely see that bars are going super high. And within that, you see the potential for more weight down the line. But there's also the security in that lockout overhead and getting it to the right spot that, you know, you can pull it high, but can you secure it at a heavier weight?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing in that confidence of being under and always knowing like the safest thing you can do in any lift is keeping your arms long the entire time. A
Yeah.
full lockout is the safest thing. Even if you miss, if you keep it locked out, it's going behind you, it's going in front of you, away from you.
And
Um,
we've seen the hairy situations of when it's not.
right. So, yeah, you definitely see the exaggeration of the movement. But it's needed to then get the confidence, I think, to
Yeah.
just get under.
Yeah. I was trying to think of most teaching progressions are their drills, right? They're micro skills of a greater thing that like is how you do it, but also isn't how you do it. It's like we're tracing the lines so we can learn how to draw it later,
Yeah.
like if you have like a transparency and you're just constantly tracing a smiley face over it until it's perfect, well then eventually you need to do that where it's only the head, but then you'll fill in the eyes on your own. And
Hmm.
you start to learn where on the paper I need to put those other marks so that it's a symmetrical face, and then eventually you practice drawing a smooth circle on your own. But in the beginning, we have to have like I guess the tracing paper or the training wheels on it to figure
Yeah.
out how to do the main thing. Um, it's not how you actually do it, but we need to get the repetitions in this other way. It could definitely go down a wrong path too.
Yeah.
Um, if you don't have, I guess, if you don't train in a way that eventually forces the athlete to figure it out to go a different way. Like in the beginning, snatching from the hips, okay, A to B. It's super simple. We're taking out steps. It's not a, it is a snatch, but it's also not a snatch. It's a drill. All right, we're gonna do, it's just like the Bergner warm-up. Like, all right, we're gonna jump and shrug. You can do that with weight. That could be a strength movement, but it's snatch related, but it's not the snatch. So like the snatch from the hips is along those lines. It's just further down the road, closer to the actual snatch.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of technique benefits, and there's also a lot of strength benefits too. And that's how you can start to learn how to be fast, and how to use your legs at the top end of the movement, and how to keep the bar close. And you start to learn, like you said, like duck under it. You're like, well, how do you do that? Well, when the weight gets heavy enough, you'll figure it out. Like if you really want to go under it, when it's time to release everything and then actually pull under it. And you may get there on that movement before you ever get there on the full snatch from the floor. But if you do it long enough, they'll start to feed into one another. So it's just, I guess if the programming is done right and the progression over time is done right, it'll just force you to start to have to do it the way that we actually want to do it. Versus in the beginning, okay, it's going to be way too light, or even a PVC pipe or an empty barbell, and you're going to bend, dip and then jump it way too high and pull it way too high. But at least it got overhead and it's light enough that you'll still connect with a lot of good reps. So I guess that's all part of the programming and teaching progression, and then you can, if you have those other steps, you can start to correct the flaws that maybe people had coming into it. Like Leone is a great example. She's done the snatch and clean jerk for years, but it's in a very inconsistent setting with CrossFit. It's like whenever it just happens to pop up. Yeah. And then it's, what is the situation here? Well, it's under extreme fatigue at light loads, moving it as quickly as possible. So we'll iron all those out over time. Right now, she is strong enough to probably do heavier weights, but we don't have the background to connect with it, and the confidence. But she's going to get there pretty quick. Look at Rebecca, having never done any of it before, and actually having to be in an environment where you're asked to do it in two conflicting ways right off the bat. Yeah. Like you come to Barbell Club on Friday, then you come to the 9 a.m. class on Saturday, and it has you doing 50 snatches, and you may not have that, like, no, you're not going any heavier than that. You just have a little more free reign to put the weight on there. Yeah. And then it's totally, totally different. But even with her, you can kind of see how her movement has changed by, just from January to now. Like, do you watch her lift and you're like, wow, it actually all works a little bit. But then you see Leone come in and you're like, okay, you're like where she was back in March. Mm-hmm. But I can see how you'll get to a different spot with just the consistency. It's a really cool thing to see. Or with Chris. Chris is still really new. He's still got a lot of things to iron out. But then if you flip over to Alex, who has not a full year ahead of Chris, because I think Chris joined in the fall and Alex joined earlier that year, you can see like how Alex's movement is refining now, right? Yeah. And we had to figure out, or I had to figure out, and then work with him on what kind of lifter is Alex, and now I have him doing the hang lifts in ways that I don't have you other guys really doing the hang lifts. Yeah. And there's still nuances in how all of you do the hang lifts. We all had to just start one way, and the way that I teach it, and the way that I've been taught to teach it, which is a way more hinge dominant type of hang work, and that's a strength exercise, and it may not, and it doesn't happen that way when we actually go from the floor. And then now we have to slowly micro manage those hang lifts to get them to actually be closer to your floor. Yeah. It's a cool thing. It's a really cool thing to see that, like Alex, he has more of a squatty hinge, if we're going to even call it a hinge, to get to the hang position now, just because of his body type, and also how can we most leverage how he can use his strength. If
Yeah.
it's a full on, bend the knees, we're at the hips, and then take a bow, hip hinge only, it's not working for Alex.
Yeah.
He's going to jump forward every single time, or do that pull where it starts to go up and then it slows down and swings. You've
Yeah.
seen him probably do it a million times. Where I think now anyone in the room could recognize when Alex pulls wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then you see the ones now where I have him just staying more upright and just squat it down and then go up. That's actually but that's also how I wanted him to start pulling from the floor. A little more squatty, a little more knees out, a little more staying upright. No more leaning out over it. It doesn't really work for him that well.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because he's a heavier weight class athlete. If you think about someone who I'd actually showed Alex a video of this, of a lifter in the United States that is a super and is more top heavy and has skinnier legs. Well, if that person does like we'll call it the Superman pull, right? Where they're pushing their knees way back and they're way out over the bar. Think about how much more body weight and mass is over the bar now than someone else who has bigger legs and a proportionate torso.
Right.
And they can actually be anchored in their legs. Like, what in the world is going to happen when it's time to go? Like, most of your body weight is out over with the bar instead of being back and balanced. I think you're going to jump forward, or it's going to be weird. So, trying to get Alex to leverage things better for his body type and his size, it's coming along, right? But do you see when Alex connects on some lifts where you're like, man, that looks like how it should look, and then you see other ones where you're like, you messed that one up. And that's when I tell Alex, I'm like, we're back to the old way. The old habits die hard, but you can see it now, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And for your own coaching, when we're like in CrossFit class, or even if you're just looking at teammates, is that something that you look at now on how like they may need to pull differently than the gospel, that we're working off of?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have that too. It's like I call it like a double clutch.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it, when I see it a lot of the time, I think about the speed aspect of it, of that, like you're getting above the knee, you're then slowing down, bringing it in, and then you're trying to go. And that causes kind of the swing.
Never should have slowed down. It's like the cardinal sin right off the bat.
But then it's like it kind of switches to the next thing of they start off fast so that they don't feel it, and then it slows them down. Whereas if you start a little bit slower and you get faster, you might find more success there. But then that start off feels a lot heavier than it did when you went fast from the beginning.
Yeah. And this is the nuancy part of the coaching, that you have to be able to recognize that and then figure out how to fix it. Bend the knees, take a bow. Those are just words to get into two positions, two universal positions that we'll have to tailor later for the individual. And we want to be doing these exercises because we're trying to refine and strengthen positions that we hope to find when pulling from the floor. And they won't be exact. And actually, they kind of, when we're doing the full movement, they don't exist anymore, if that makes sense. They're the position at the knees, it's a location now, but it's not a position anymore because it's all so blurred together into one thing.
Yeah.
It's like it's one fluid swing where everything you are doing is to try to get into locations and positions that will allow you to continue to accelerate the bar, not slow it down. So if you pull fast and then it slows down because you're trying to create an artificial position, now we're going to be in trouble, So everything we're doing from the floor and everything we're working on is to get that smooth, consistent pull and to continue to accelerate through the lift. It's kind of like if you're driving a car really fast and you're going to go around a turn, we want to be able to continue to accelerate through the turn versus to slow down and then go slow and then speed up again. That's not really efficient. The turn on the curve is Like the starting point beyond it, like that's the floor, and we're going so fast. Then we're going to go faster through the hip and turn, and then that should eject us out even faster because the
Yeah.
turnover needs to be quick. A lot of people will hit the gas brakes for various reasons, mental or physical. Um, that's when like you're thinking too much. Well, I have to push my knees back and find my hang position. It's like no, it should be automatic, and we're doing all the reps from the top down to make it automatic, to feel what it's like. Push your knees back, push your knee or out, or stay over it, stay upright, whatever you have to
Yep.
do. And then you hopefully have, and then build the strength there too. Because it's a lot of strength work. Like going from the hang, and you guys have all mentioned it to me, and it's known within our group. If we're going to the low hang, everyone knows that's harder than the mid thigh because you're holding on to it for so much longer.
Yeah.
There's all that grip strength, bringing it down and going right back up again. So it's like, there's so much involved in it, and that's what makes it fun, right? Just all these little nuancy things makes it fun.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't, you're not done ever with
No.
technique and making things better ever.
No. And it's cool to be like, all right, like essentially we have 2 days of strength before we do our full lifts, and then now it's the full lift. Now it's like it's specific, and of course I want to get strength with that, but we're just doing on Monday and Wednesday strength exercises. They're all strength exercises. They're just different types of strength exercises, and you can see the spectrum of experience we have in the class on both technique and strength and mental confidence, and how it changes, and then how everyone's just dealing with the challenge in the moment. And it's a lot of cool to see, and it's a lot of fun to see. And it's funny how the programming and the coaching and the group team atmosphere on like seeing what everyone's doing and getting different examples helps your beginner. Like,
Right.
I don't know how Leone or Rebecca could do this if I was just giving them the program that I got off the internet and they were just going and doing it and not getting all those other inputs, I don't know. That doesn't sound fun at all. That doesn't even sound fun to do from the coaching perspective. Like, okay, I could do that in scale and make a lot of money, but it kind of seems like it wouldn't be fulfilling, Like there's so many days where we leave Barbell Club and I'm like, man, we killed it. Like as a team, like what a good session for the team. And we've been having a lot of it. Last week, I think we had 3 awesome sessions last week where like as a group, we hit a groove. Did you feel that too?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, it felt good, on like the progress everyone was making. Like we, of course, week 1, we're coming off the deload week and the doubles and the testing, but like, I feel like we're hitting the smooth part of this again, where it's like, oh, all right, it got easy again. And everyone's just locked in, And if by this point, what are we're 3 weeks into it now? Or was that 2 weeks? Week 8 was week 1, technically. And then week 9. So yeah, actually, wow, we hit our stride in quote week 2 a little bit.
Yeah. I mean,
for the most part,
ebbs and flows.
Yeah. That's a pretty good week 2. That's a pretty darn good week 2. Wow. And I would just hope it keeps getting better, because I'm trying to do a lot of kicking all of you out of the nest way earlier, and understanding that if I do that, we might miss some lifts. But you know what? That's your problem, not my problem. Like you might miss the lift. Okay, figure out how to make it on the next one, because we shouldn't be afraid of weights or missing lifts.
Yeah.
Missing lifts is part of this game. And I know you guys get frustrated when it happens, but you guys also have a good attitude of like, well, let me try another set, or knowing when to pick your battles. Like, all right, I made 2 out of 1 this week. That doesn't mean it's a failure of a session or a week. 10% of misses on your overall sets. That's about what we would expect. And that's actually a good, healthy amount. That means you're trying and we're doing things. So I think the expectation shouldn't be, if we have 3 singles, that you're going to make all 3. Or on the back squats, that it's not going to start to get crazy heavy because we're on singles now. So what's the expectation there? Like if we're on like reps, 5s and 3s, all right, we're going to put in a lot of grunt work. We're going to put in a lot of like manual labor, type of work. But we're on singles now.
Yeah.
So it's like you only have to do one. So you should be putting in all that you can into that one. And it might be really, really heavy. And those singles are going to affect us mentally than if it was said 3. Because if it says 3 and it's heavy and you made 2 and you had to bail on the last one, all right, well, we were doing 3. But now it's like, how hard are you going to try to get the 1 done?
Yeah.
And also, since we've been working on our squats so consistently all year, actually 3 days a week since January, we are now in a place where I think we can comfortably push into working weights that we've never done before. And the fact that it's singles helps. Like this time next year, you could be like, we're going to get you up. Like right now, you're going to be in the 40s for singles on back squats, right? Next year, the 40 range could be for triples or 5s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but we're putting in the groundwork now of like, wow, this is the first time you've ever done this for working sets. We've never done that before. And I feel like a one-off singles back squat cycle, maybe after having not done back squat since the beginning of the year or it left for a while, it'd be a lot harder to do that now, I feel.
Agreed.
How do you feel about it? Seeing, like, does it register with you where you're like, wow, I've never done working weights with this weight on the card. And plus a year ago, this was below my PR because I hadn't PR'd in a while. And now it's like, I'm doing it for sets.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how it is where it's, my back squat was pretty, at least number wise, it was pretty consistent for a few years. And then now it's like the singles that we did last week were all higher than previous 1 rep maxes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm already there where it doesn't feel crazy that I'm doing it. Maybe, like you said, again, like if we had taken a break from it, seeing those numbers again maybe would have been a little bit insane. But like since we're doing it so consistently, like you know how everything feels and how you're feeling as you get up to those weights as well.
And we've built a really strong foundation on the squats, not only with just squatting itself, but like you guys are like really good now at bracing your core and like getting in the right positions and all that stuff. And there's a lot less pushback now. Like there'd be, I feel like if we hadn't squatted for a while and week 2 on our brand new squat cycle, I put down 140 or whatever it is, you'd be like, sir, can we talk about this? What's going on? But like we're beyond that. And that's, so it's like the other kind of beginner topic that I was thinking about was how do you kind of shake that feeling of the bar feels heavy in your hands, but also on your back or on the front, and the first way that you can kind of combat that is just with the consistency of training the lifts in it, and with what we've been doing with the main lifts on the doubles, after putting you guys through, you guys have only done in the grand scheme of the year about 12 to 13 weeks of doubles training because we always switch after 6 weeks and also after testing to singles on what our drills are. So that's not a lot. That's not a lot of time, but the value and the struggle that we went through and the time under tension, it makes when we go to singles so much easier, and then I can start taking the jumps. Like I think I told you guys all on Friday, like my goal is to get you guys quicker to weight ranges and on these particular singles that we have done all year. Next week, like there's, even though his PR clean jerk is 100, I want to get Chris where I can training into the 90s as soon as possible. It's because like I've already seen him and I'm remembering him on so many hang drills battling through the 80s already, like fighting for a low hang clean and jerk double with 86. So why wouldn't I push him into the 90s as soon as possible? And I know that, like, you know, that 100, it's not real. It's only the first time he's done it. You
Yep.
know, he he has to find that thing deep down inside of him that will allow him to do 110, because he can clean 111 or 112 now.
Hmm.
But there's a mental breakdown when we get past deeper into the hundreds, or when the jerk is involved. You know, but he's done into the 90s, low 90s for doubles on the clean and jerk. So, all right, why can't you double 103 or single 103? When it's all up here, he
Yeah.
has to believe it. He has to get the confidence. I haven't beaten him enough with the programming to get that confidence out. You
Yeah.
know, he hasn't had the reps in his hands like some of you other guys have. So that's just one way. It's with the programming itself and strategically thinking about the numbers. Like we're playing a chess game. So like, all right, Chris makes his move, and then I'm like 91 next week. And now that's your problem. You have to figure out how to complete those 3 sets. It's only 3 singles. But last training cycle, you did 87 from the high hang or from the knees for doubles, and you held on to it. You didn't drop. Why
Yeah.
can't you do 91 for singles? You just don't believe in yourself as much as you should right now. Or when it comes on there, mind starts wandering. Well, all the what if starts to happen. Versus Schaff maybe doesn't have that, or others, Do you see that? You see that, of course, in the group, and what
Yeah.
we're dealing with.
And I think it's like, it's also the mental reps of, we have so much extra time under our belt as well, where you hit those heavy weights and before you're like, okay, I know that we're maxing out, or I know that this is like our last week, so this is the heaviest week. I have to make sure I feel perfect, and I want to hit these weights. And we have so many days where maybe we're lined up to do something and we go in feeling like garbage, and either you make it work, it's beautiful, whatever, or you're like, this is what I have today and I need to make it work.
Yeah.
And yeah, either way, you're going to have to figure it out. I mean, obviously there are the days where it's just not your day and you have to make a decision based on that. But yeah, I think we have enough days where we've had to fight through and fight past certain feelings, be not afraid of missing. And that's the only way that you're going to actually get it, is like, okay, I missed. What did I just feel? Okay, I can try that again. And then I can do it better. And I can, and you kind of just have to push past it.
Yeah. And if we don't do that, and if now, like when we're into singles, if I don't try to push you guys out of the nest in more than one way, and the nest is just an analogy of like, all right, your current comfort zone,
Right.
and I'm coming in there, I'm like, no, like get out of there, or like let's knock down this wall, whatever it is. Then how could we possibly ever be in a scenario like we talked about last week, where we're at nationals and we are trying to win, and I'm not having a conversation with you about the weight going on the bar. I just have no choice but to put a PR or something crazy on there. And then your job is to go out there and do the most with it and try to win. And because we're both as a unit trying to win. Well, this is a micro way we can kind of do that with the coaching and with the numbers in training, and it's like, all right, yeah, I told, and also me telling you too. It's like I told Chris, I'm like, all right, your weight today was 85 or 86. Next week you're in the 90s. And then he gives me a look, or like I can see that look on his face, because Chris is very expressionate and he shows his emotions very, very easily. Where it's like, yeah, all right. He has to like sit with that now for a week, and like, and he doesn't know, even though he can do it, like
Right.
even if it's just 90, But I have to continually show him and continue to coax them out there and go, and that I think will help too with like when you hear them call the number. All right, Haley Masonette, second attempt, 101 on the clean and jerk. And like, she'll be, wait, hold on. I haven't done that yet, or it's not my PR. If we're having that conversation, oh boy, like, well, now I'm nervous when you go out. But if you just like go to the chalk bucket, nope, I have a job to do. Here I go. and you give your best effort, that's where we want to be. So as far as like, how do we train that? This is the only way I can think of. How do we train that?
Yeah.
I don't know if other people are doing that. I just know that's our team is doing that. And it's with all the data that like it's like I compiled a case against you on why you should be better, and then I'm using this information against you to make you better. And what a weird, it's a weird way to think about it, right? But it's a fun way to think about it.
Yeah, for sure. I 100% agree. I obviously I do it with Schaff where I see his numbers and I'm like, no, yeah, we need to start regularly being in the 130s for clean and jerk on working sets. And he's like, I know. And I'm like, good.
Yeah.
And then like
Yeah.
in my head, I'm like, okay, so that means I definitely have to be higher 90s and then creeping into the hundreds for like working sets and be okay with that.
Yeah.
And like figuring out that like on meet days, cleans are great. There are some training days where cleans are not great. And I have to figure that out. But yeah, once you do it in training, then when you get to the meet, you're like, yeah, I've done these for sets. Like this shouldn't be an issue at all.
Well, and look at how 130 affected Alex on Friday. You know, he and the snatches too. He had a lot of situations where he would go to get set up on the bar and be like, he'd have to stand up and I'm not right. Like okay, those are weights he could definitely do on a build up at a meet, no problem. Because of course your mind is out on the platform, but it shows a weakness in our base if this thing that would essentially be a third warm up or a fourth warm up has this effect on you because you have to do it 3 times.
Yeah.
First, and because it is easier, like, all right, let me hit 130, 135, 140. That's a little easier than having just to sit at 130, and 130 is the thing on the top shelf because 130 in the other progression is just a stepping stone to a bigger villain, and then you only have to do 140 once. That's totally different. And then also there's the thought process that might pop up into his head. It's 130 this week. What's it going to be next week?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I'm gonna have to do 137, 135, and it'd be easier for me just to be like, all right, 128. He did 125 last week. Let me get 128. 128 is like me letting you hold on to your blankie and be like, all right, look, it's still a 2. It's okay. It's a small jump for next week. But that 3 changes everything. Or even the way he loaded the bar with 4 reds. That's totally different. I'm so glad he did that. I didn't pick up on that to have told him to do that, but I'm so glad he did that. And not to throw blame anywhere. If there was a lot more people in the room and he's working in and out with Schaff, I don't think he would have done that. I think he would have just taken the plates that are available. Yep. So it could have been a red, a blue, and then a big white, right? Would that still make 130? No, greens. And there's something about putting the colors on there a different way that changes it too.
Yeah.
The 4 reds, the double red on each side, definitely got into his head a little bit. Great. That's awesome. We like that. Mm-hmm. Because that's how they're going to give it to you when you're going for 150. You're going to see 4 reds on there and then the yellows or whatever it is. So there's so many things we have to think about and do. And it's just fun to see it. Along this topic of, I guess, demystifying weights or what to do when the weight feels heavy in your hand, we can accomplish it through training. How do you get over it with when you go to pick up a bar and you're like, man, this feels like 1,000,000 pounds in my hands right now? How do you not trust your hands?
A lot of it is experience. And like you said, like with this testing, it's like it's doing those heavier working sets or like making purposeful moves where, like, even if we go back to doubles, I can't remember. I think they were doubles from the floor. I don't think I PR'd either, but based on how the day was going, I probably knew that I wouldn't PR, but I still put on numbers that I knew I could easily get the single for, but I would likely miss that second rep. Mm-hmm. Like I did 90 for the snatch and went for a double. And getting that 90 there on a day where like I didn't feel good still puts in your mind like you can get 90. Any day you should be able to get 90.
Yep.
You went for a second rep at 90 and you just didn't get the second rep, but you went for both. Like that changes things where you have enough bad days and you like lift your floor, I say. Like it's great to have a high ceiling, but if your floor is also high enough, like I know whatever day I'm having, I'll be able to get through this at least.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that like just time under tension, time with the bar in your hands and gaining that experience and succeeding and failing too, right? Because you've had plenty of that. I think the more we do where we're not afraid to miss a lift, but also in concert with that, make it so hard that the only way to make the lift is to do it precisely and the
Mm-hmm.
right way, and that we can't cheat it, in like maybe like a CrossFit type of way.
Yeah.
There's like such a fine, we're on a tightrope, and you have to just do it so well. Um, it all helps that when you go to pick it up and it feels heavy or it feels hard, you're like, well, I know that that's not real. That's just a safety mechanism in the back of my brain that says, wouldn't it be nice to start on Monday? It's the same thing. It's just like, wouldn't it be nice, if you just did this and made our life easier? That's what your body and brain want. It's like, hey, how about we make this not stressful for me and by proxy for you? And you just have to override that, and it comes with everything we're talking about.
I'd say even this Friday with the way my legs were feeling, even through the squats, I had to tell myself like, because I said in my head like my legs don't feel strong today, but I had to go, well, it doesn't matter how they feel. We know that they're strong.
Yeah.
Like again, because we've been squatting so much, I know like, okay, it doesn't matter that you don't feel the strength. You know that it's there. Like we have enough data to show that it is there no matter what, especially at these numbers. Like,
Yeah.
even though they are towards the heavier end now, like we know that we've gone heavier. We've done sets at around similar weights. And yeah, you know what your strength is. So even if it doesn't feel like that right now, you know that you're fine. You have enough data to show that you can get through it anyway.
Yeah. And this is all helping with the goal of becoming like a freak athlete, like not normal. Like when you go to meets, people are like, how do they move like that? Wow, they're doing crazy things. I'm the same size or I'm bigger. How is he doing that? It's all in the way that we train. And in the way that we train, it is a giant, melting pot of the things I learned from Glenn Penlay, the things I learned from USA weightlifting, but also the things I learned from CrossFit. They're all like
Yep.
it's all in there. Like we don't train the typical textbook weightlifting way on what the level 1 manual probably says. There's all those things about there. Rest 3 to 5 minutes before set. We don't do that either.
Mm-hmm.
But CrossFitters don't do that, and they have decent strength. Like now, their strengths are getting respectable.
Yep.
But they have great work capacity because you just train yourself to be able to do more work more often. Like Chris made the joke or the wishful comment, like, what about 2.5 minutes between sets on back squats? And it's like, yeah, but why? We've already like you can do it in 2, and it actually gets better the deeper we go, because eventually when the weights are meaningful enough, you'll get more rest, or spend less time tightening your belt and getting wiggled under the bar and all that stuff. Like, how about you just take it off, get tight and go, because you can. Or like figuring out how to take crazy jumps that you didn't know you could take, like you going from 70 to 94 on the clean or a hang clean one of those days. It's like just showing yourself, oh, I can do it. That gives yourself, so not only do you have great strength, you have great work capacity, and you have great mental fortitude that no matter the challenge, you can accomplish it. So when we are in a cushy situation, the meat is the cushy situation.
Yeah.
All right, Miguel, you're the last one to go, or you have 25 attempts before you go. We'll spend 15 minutes warming up. And then that's when we're at the point where like you guys like, well, I don't like doing it that way, but it's all right, but it will be beneficial if we do actually rest now. Like you're just that much better off, versus the people around you may be crumbling because they're not warmed up fast enough, or they need more time, or this or that, or something crazy happens. They have to go now. Look at Frank. Frank isn't really training consistently right now. He's got a business and a full-time job and babies and and all of that stuff. But he has the ability, we just found out, to just jerk 300, 137. Now, if we were in a crazy situation at a meet and we had to skip some warm-ups, like, all right, Frank could probably, all right, he hit 100. Nope, we got to go right to 140. Do you think it's going to be a problem for Frank? Like, is he going to be in the mental mindset of like, oh, my coach blew my warm-ups, or these people took big jumps, or I'm not ready, I have to check all these boxes before I can do that? Or is he just going to be an animal and just hop on that bar and just make it happen and do the job, and then we move on? Now, if we get in all those other warm-up sets, will that make us so we're a little more polished for 150? Yes. But if in a dire situation where we have no choice, could we do things? Yes. And I think it's best to be prepared for all those things, because why not? Why not be prepared? And of course, I've seen so many people, and we've talked about it here, and I'm sure you've seen people who couldn't adapt to situations, or it just doesn't look like they had, they don't train in a way that would maybe help them when the meet gets fast or when the meet slows down, right? Have you is there any example in your head of where you're like, man, if they just maybe train differently, they'd be able to handle this right now, and you're watching them crumble on the platform because they only train for purely technique or for purely strength? Like, those things in their program are separate, where ours, they're very much intertwined together because of the way that we train the hang lifts and the importance we put on them.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I see at meets is the slow part. Not a lot of people, even myself, like every now and then gets thrown off by slow. Because I do, especially for like clean and jerks, I do not that many warm-ups, but I've been getting better where like, oh, well, we got a couple 2-minute clocks in. Like, do you need to hit this now or can you wait? And I'm like, that's fine. I'll wait.
Yeah.
And I think it is, again, because of those, like, being accustomed to those bigger jumps as well, where I'm like, I don't need to. I see it. I mean, we see it all the time where it works for some people where they're like, okay, I'm going to take my fourth warm up 3 times back here because I need to do something in the meantime. And I'm like, no, I think I should be fine. Like, your body's going to feel the jump or that time off in between. But if you're used to like doing bigger jumps as well, I think your body kind of adjusts to it.
Yeah. And we've kind of been on this consistent thread the whole conversation. I wonder how much of that on when they need to repeat the same weight or do a high pull with it after you've already clean and jerked it or something like that. I can understand doing that like 20, 30 kilos over what your third attempt's going to be because like, all right, we really got to rev the engines here. But I wonder how much of that is just because people these days seem to be afraid of down and idle time that lasts too long. They always have to be engaged with something, whether it be the phone or a conversation or their job or something like that, that like they don't know how to just find peace in the moment and just kind of like sit there and be like, yeah, all right, the meat, that guy's lifting, I'm ready, I'm cool, I'm happy to go. Do you remember that meet when at Swagler way back? It might have been 2018, 2019, where I was also lifting, and I put my resting chair next to the speaker table, and I was just sitting out there exposed, not like hidden away, and people are talking to me, and I'm just joking with them and whatnot, and then I just go and do my job. Right? Like that's just because I've done so many of them, and like I'm truly at peace right here. Like I'm okay, like just sitting here, like, but like a lot of people can't do that. They have to go back behind the curtain. But I remember seeing Donnie Schenkel do that, and I remember like watching him at a local meet here at ABC Sports and Fitness when he was living in Warwick, and he came up and he was doing the meet. And I remember him just pulling up a chair and putting it out there behind the platform, essentially, and just being exposed for so long. And I was like, man, that requires some strength, does it not? And confidence in your ability to just be out there. And he also looked like he was just at peace. Like he was just breathing and like talking to people. Jim Storch walked by and he's like, "Are you gonna make that lift?" Like, I'll make that lift. Whatever it was they were saying, and then eventually get up and just go out there. And I wonder, like, and I remember when I've done stuff like that, like it, you start to get really comfortable being almost like on the platform without being on the platform.
Yeah.
So like the situation doesn't change. Like if you go back there, no eyes are on you. Then all of a sudden, all right, it's time for me to go out there and do my lift. Your heart rate might start to race a little bit. You're like, all right, we're going back out there. It's like a public speaking thing. I'm on display again. Versus like when I did that, I was like, oh, I'm just on display the whole time. It's fine, And then I go out there and like I feel even more calm before the lift. Do you think that's something you would try to do?
It depends. I don't like. I will say it's kind of two different things. I am totally okay because I've now entered the realm of like doing stuff by myself and like I can sit in silence, or like it's funny because of Leone as well, but like doing dental work or like at the doctor or whatever, and like if you've been to like newer places and they're like, oh, like you can put on your own music. Do you want like specific this or that? Or
Really?
yeah, like when I was doing my crown, they were like, yeah, we have our own, like each room has specialized music. Do you want this? And I'm like, no. And then like my phone's in my pocket and they're like, we'll be back in 10 minutes. And I'll just sit and I'll just be looking at the wall. And they think I'm like a psycho because I'm not like doing anything. But yeah, I'm very okay with just like stillness.
Yeah.
I'm still not like don't talk to me too much before I'm about to lift because I like to just be quiet. Like I'll have my music, but I like to like be quiet.
You're in the zone.
But yeah, I don't necessarily, that's the only reason I wouldn't be out there is because I don't need the like talking or, there's always too many bodies around the like athlete area.
And I'm fine with the talking, because like I don't need to like funnel it in headphones and whatnot. Like I'm totally fine being a social butterfly in my performance. That's why like going out there, like I'm okay with like being like cheer for me a little bit or something like that, and then do it and then dropping it and be like, I beat that guy. Like I just like like because that's what I was trying to do at States last time. Because like I'm having so much fun that it keeps me at peace. And like this is just what I do. I am a weightlifter. So I'm going to go do what weightlifters do. I don't have this pressure on me to perform. What is my team going to think if I don't make this lift? Or what does it mean for my worth as a person if I'm not able to beat this guy? Like, there's nothing like that. I'm just like, oh, it's just another day at the office. Like, here we go. Do. Tighten it up. Boom, boom. All right. That was fun. Glad I did it, and everybody finds peace in their own way. So that's just the example I'm using. On it seems like people need to get that going more, like it always doesn't have to be distractions, there always doesn't have to be, something else holding your attention. And one thing that I'm trying to do now is, especially just driving around town, driving more without the music playing and just maybe just having the windows open and listening to the world, or just letting my thoughts go. And because I do some of my best thinking is when I'm in the car, so it's kind of like similar how like you get big idea when you're taking a shower, like because that's a time where you're not focused on anything else. You're not looking at a screen. You're not reading an email. So I've been trying to open up driving to be that, because I'm also walking to work a lot more. And for that, I do like to put on my headphones and go for a little walk and whatnot. But I'm like, oh, I'm driving so little. Like if I had walked back and get in my car to drive to Hannaford, do I need to take the time to find the right song first,
Yeah.
or to put that on? Like, how about I just drive to Hannaford? Remember that? Remember back when, when like you just drive and like talk to people, or anything. So I'm trying to do that more, and just having that just be just a time at peace.
Right.
And it's good to have that in your. And someone brought up, it might have been Chris. He's like, how did people do this back in the day with no music? And it's like, yeah, there literally wasn't the distraction of music when people used to train back in the day. You either talked to your training partners and you learned about them, what they do for work, things like that, or you talked about things going on in the world or interest, movies, whatever. And that's what your moments were based off of, and experiences in training, and you made good friends. Not to say that you guys don't do that and aren't good acquaintances and have made friendships, but that's just how it was back then, or maybe there was a radio playing a little bit in the background at some point. But now it's like the music's bumping and all that stuff, and it's different. But you did have that experience of when you went to the meet, they weren't playing music at the meet. It was just like, it's like golf. You ever hear people compare weightlifting to golf at some point?
No.
Really? No? Okay. Yeah, it used to be compared to like golf because it's just quiet and everyone's, it's like there's no music playing, no nothing. It wasn't like a party. But I feel like if you've never done that, then you would have a hard time finding peace in the warm-up room, and just being as is. Interesting. I forget where this part of the conversation originated from. I think it kind of launched off of the weight not feeling heavy in the hands.
Right.
But it's an interesting thing to think about, and like it's almost like you have to. It's funny how like you said you're doing things like solo, and that or we're both doing things that might feel like not the norm, because like, and other people are like, well, how do you do that? And it's kind of like how people like are posting about how they're doing plane rides without any distractions, no book, no nothing. They're just like, yeah, I'm just going to be living. And that seems a little extreme. Like just, but also it's like, when I was telling you guys on Friday how I've been to Texas Roadhouse where I told them no sides, please, no bread. I'll just take my steak. And they were like freaking out about it because it's so against the norm. They're like, wait, why don't you want the bread? Everyone eats the bread. I'm like, yeah, but I don't eat the bread today. I'm fine without it. And they're like, but we don't understand. This is what everybody does. So it's like when you do things like that, people aren't going to understand. And I think that's maybe like a sign of like, oh, you're doing the right thing, because like people don't understand like how this could be beneficial. It's like, yeah, I don't eat cereal for breakfast, but everybody eats cereal. It's convenient. It's blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but I don't, it's hard for people to understand things that are outside the norm. And they even might view it as scary. Oh, you're going to go to the restaurant and not have the sides, but the sides are yummy. I can't imagine not having the sides. Right. I can't imagine not having the bread and all that stuff. But I'm like, yeah, but I just want to eat more steak. Like that's why I ordered a second steak, to take the space in my stomach and the calories and all that stuff away from the mashed potatoes and stuff. Plus, I've been to Texas Roadhouse tons of times where I have had a double mashed potato, and I'm like, wow, I feel like shit after going to Texas Roadhouse and having all the bread and all the carbs. But you know what I felt like, Miguel, after having 2 steaks after leaving the restaurant? I felt great. And I'm like, you know what? I can do stuff after it too. Like I can go for a walk. I can do this. I can think. I don't need a nap. I don't feel lethargic or sluggish. I prefer that, Yeah. And it's funny how that feeling is not the norm. You're like, all right, how about I don't want to accept going out to eat and feeling bad afterwards? Like, why is that part of the equation? I'd rather just go out and have the convenience of not having to have cooked these 2 steaks and do the dishes. That's the great thing right now,
Yeah.
We live in a society, Miguel, and it's that constant. There's so many things in there that can keep you from your goals and keep you too comfortable, So, and it's funny how the things that you would do just to break that a little bit that we've talked about aren't that extreme, but they seem extreme to people that are like locked into convenience too much.
Yeah.
So to say. Boy. All right. let's talk about Tom Cruise real quick. The hypothetical question: Ethan Hunt. We're both big Mission Impossible fans, and the new movie came out, and we watched it. And in all the movies, Tom Cruise's character does extraordinary things to save the world. Things that you're like, how can he even physically do that? They're very hard things. So let's compare our very hard thing and put Ethan Hunt in that scenario on if the villain was like, all right, to save the world, to stop the nuke, you have to do this in the snatch and the clean and jerk. Could he do it? So and he would probably have to do it untrained, right? And he's already demonstrated that he is a physical specimen of a human being, Ethan Hunt, that is. Like, so we won't even lump Tom Cruise in this. We're talking about the fictional character of Ethan Hunt. If the villain was like, all right, here are multiple benchmarks to snatch, you have to be able to do that. So first, what would we expect the first benchmark snatch to be, and could he do it to save the world if that was the requirement? What would we say it is? Body weight?
I would say no.
Below that?
No, heavier.
Oh, heavier. Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like the snatch benchmark is 185 pounds.
185. So that's 84 kilos.
Yeah.
And you're saying that that's the first snatch benchmark because it fits with both CrossFit and weightlifting, kind of?
I think so. I feel like that's still a weight where, and I'm just talking like in one movement you get it overhead, no matter how it looks.
Yeah, he's all right. He's not going to be called for a press out,
right,
or anything like that. It's like, can you snatch it? One movement overhead, wide grip, stand up with it. That whole thing.
I think if you go like as a fit guy, that is the number that like you could, depending on how big the person is, get somebody off the street and kind of be like, can you just hoist this up?
Yeah.
I feel like 185 is that number of like, all right, now we're somewhere.
But
anything
are you going to allow
that,
them to stop at the shoulders, or is it a snatch?
No, I mean like one movement. I think that
movement.
You could still find guys and just explain to them like one movement, get it over your head. You can't stop it. I think that's the first real test.
The bigger the guy, the better. You know?
Yeah.
And so, but the thing is, Ethan Hunt, he's how tall is Tom Cruise? 5'4", 5'5"?
No, he's 5'7".
Oh, 5'7". Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So 5'7". He's got to weigh maybe at the heaviest 70 kilos, right? Like he's less than 70. He's like a 67, 65 kilo lifter.
No.
You don't think so? You think he's heavier than that?
He's definitely considerably heavier than me. I think he's at least 170 pounds.
Yeah, I don't know. He's got like a cut upper body at times, but his lower body, there's not a lot of mass there.
I don't think I could say lighter than 165.
Really? 75 kilos. And you're saying lighter. So you think he
like
could be
Ethan
70
Hunt?
Kilos?
Yeah, I think Ethan Hunt is 70 kilos.
Well, that's the thing. We have to kind of use Tom Cruise stats for Ethan Hunt because that's the body. Well, yeah, I would say 70. I think 75 is too much, which would be 165. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's lighter. What, are you looking it up?
Yeah.
How much does Tom Cruise weigh?
I don't know. I feel like 165 for like a secret agent.
Yeah, 165, that's like 66 kilos. So and that's what I'm saying, 65 to 77 or 67 kilos. But if he was 70, I think that would make sense.
Okay, yeah. So in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol,
that's a great example of Tom Cruise
of him. Well, obviously it's movie, but Ethan Hunt is about 6 feet tall and weighs 180 pounds.
What? Okay. All right. I never knew Ethan Hunt was supposed to be 6 feet tall. That's some embellishing.
About.
Yeah. Then, okay. How do you account for when he's standing next to people? And like how tall is Ving Rhames actually? I feel like he's above 6'5", but like they're looking eye to eye. But then again, maybe they must put lifts in Tom Cruise's shoes to make him.
Yeah, or even like the way that they film things, angles and all that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Then let's use actual Ethan Hunt stats on what they're saying he is. So he's 6 foot, and he's how much did you say? 80?
180.
180. So that's like 80 kilos is 176. So he's like what, 82 kilos, something like that, around there to be 180. 83.
Yeah, 81, 82.
Okay. So all right. So that would be almost, that's essentially a body weight snatch then. Okay. If we're using 84 kilos, 185, it could be right around there. So can he snatch that? I think he could. I think if the world is on the line, I think Ethan Hunt could, because I think the thing that helps the character is he wouldn't have any fear of
Right.
diving under it, because he's taken so many risks. The dude will jump off a building not even knowing what's on the other side, so he's not opposed to risking his life and going under it. And I do think he would be at least strong enough, because if you look at other feats of strength, hanging off of buildings, falling off the Burj Khalifa and like having the glove reactivate and like his arm not completely rip off his socket, things like that. So I feel like he's physical enough and probably strong enough and fearless enough to definitely do that.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's pretty or not isn't a thing. So, okay, 84 kilos. That's his first task. No problem. He does it. The world is safe. James McDermott's the villain, and this is the test I've given him.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. I think we're both in agreement on that, right? And all these variables. Do we want to just go up to 100 now? Is that the next jump, or are we going to make him snatch 200 pounds?
No. Again, like if this is like villain,
Yeah.
you're going, because you're not giving them jumps. Like you don't want them to make jumps. Like you want it to be like, this is impossible.
Yeah. And part of the impossible is he's doing it cold.
Yeah.
Like there's no warm up, there's no stuff there, and there's no gadgets, I'm sure, or whatever. So we're saying Ethan Hunt, 6 foot, weighing almost, we're weighing 180. So not far. So 5 pounds above his body weight, with all his physicality and intensity and training and all that stuff. We're saying he can snatch 84 kilos, 185 pounds cold. I agree. I think so. I think he would be willing to risk his life to do it. Now, regular Joe off the street, I don't think is doing it.
Right.
I think they'll deadlift it, and then the fear mechanisms of just like how awkward it is, how heavy it feels, that comes in. All right. So, what are we saying the next weight is, or another weight would be?
Yeah, I'd say it's 100, or I would even say like it's 225, 185, 225.
Yeah, 102. Okay. I think he goes under it. I do think he goes under it. I think. All right, how many tries does he get with it?
One.
One try. He's got to snatch it. All right, if this is in the movie, I do think he does it. I not because of like the plot won't allow him to not, but I think he's done more impossible things that this wouldn't even be on the most difficult things he's ever done.
Well, there are things, right, where he is a gymnast, let's say. Like that's his specialty. He can move his body around objects incredibly. He does not, because they don't even, if you really think about it, they don't even like play around with that in any of the movies of him. Like he's never had to like hold up a pillar or like really push through something, break through really anything.
It's been mostly holding his body, being suspended, going very fast on something.
Yeah, he can move his body throughout space very well. I don't know if he's moving an object around him as well.
Mm-hmm.
But again, back to the Mission Impossible aspect of it, they're cheating. They're absolutely cheating. I don't know how, but he's still going to go for the 100. But Benji does something at the exact moment that makes it weightless to him in the catch.
But hold on, wait. I said no gadgets. Or is this just
you wouldn't
outside
know because you're the villain.
team interference? All right. And we have and we don't even have a thing where it's like if it's not lifted, the bomb goes off. Well, like something like that. But okay, so you're saying he would do it with interference, with outside help from the team.
I think the only way that he gets it is interference. I think if we think movie scenario, right? Benji's supposed to do this thing where when he activates it, something with the magnitude of the floor or something like that, it's going to feel weightless in his hands immediately, right?
Yeah.
And then it's supposed to happen. It doesn't happen, but he still goes under the 185. He realizes, like, okay, I need it now, definitely for this 100. He pulls on it, and it's still not feeling weightless. I think because it's Ethan Hunt, he still attempts to get under it, and Benji does the thing at the very last second to make it feel weightless to him. Because I think other than that, he's not getting it.
I think he's getting it, but it's really ugly. Like his legs will be in weird positions. His knee hits the floor. His arms are bent, and he's got that intense Tom Cruise thing going, and there's sweat everywhere, and he maybe tilt-a-whirls and has to walk it forward, but he's in the fight because he won't let it go because he's Ethan Hunt. He doesn't let go. You know, I think he gets it that way. It is the ugliest snatch. He uses every ounce of athletic ability. He gets super crazy deep, you know, and like it's putting pressure on his joints, and it maybe even hurts him a little bit. But I think if it meant like a nuclear bomb going off or whatever, I feel like even without help, he would do it. Like he'd put the like such an effort into it like that, where it might actually like fall on him and crush him. Okay. So we both say he got it. We're just saying he's getting it in different ways.
Right.
I think above that though, it's done. I think if we go to 102, I think he can only do that trick once, and if he and that's like, all right, he had to start there because we're saying it's only like the bar is loaded. So if he walks into the chamber or whatever it is, and there's 84 kilos on it, that's the test. That's it. He'll get it. If it's 225, and he's coming. So this is also cold. Oh boy, it's the most crazy snatch, strenuous thing, and he doesn't walk away unscathed. You know, but he gets it. But I think anything above that, there's no way it's done. Right. If it's 110 or without gadgets and trickery and stuff. How about the clean and jerk? I feel like that's a different animal.
Yeah. And again, I think you have to go back to like regular gym goer off the street. Again, not worrying about press outs. Like they can get fairly far.
275 we start. Is that what you're thinking?
I mean,
I don't think we start at 100 because
I don't know how much farther. I mean, if we're going past 275,
that's the thing. 300, like it's. I think the two numbers. So if we had two numbers in the conversation for snatch, 84 and 102, I kind of think our numbers are 125, which is 275, and 300, 137. Which we can make it an actual, like it's 136 point whatever to make it a smooth, because 137 is really 301, you know, and some change. So we can make it an even 300, or the other number that pops in my head that's, you know, it's the one everyone knows as well, 315. I don't think he does 315 cold. And
maybe I'll give him 300.
Yeah, this is the tougher one. Because all right, with tomfoolery, fine. he'll get it. Like the movie magic, the secret agent. I'm just saying his physicality and stuff like that, having to do it cold, and with the adrenaline and knowing the fact that if you don't do this, the world ends. You know.
Right.
So so it's, and with that, I think it's like he's got I think 84 kilos on a snatch. He doesn't have to like potentially risk it all.
Yeah.
102, you got to risk it all. And so I feel like that's maybe the better number. And I feel like the character would do it with or without help. I think 300 is probably that number more so than 275. So we're saying 300. Boy, I think he cleans it, and I think he fails on the jerk. Or just to get it overhead.
Yeah, I can see like a pass out, honestly, after the clean.
Man, the fight he would do to fight that pass out as he's going down, it would be valiant. Just that Tom Cruise intensity face that he's done all the time. They would zoom in where you could see in his eyes that you could see that it's something is wrong, and the fight that he would do to not pass out, I could see that. Think about what's happening to your heart rate and everything, blood pressure, just going from 0 to 300 on your chest and whatnot. Which it's kind of funny that, like, all right, I don't think Ethan Hunt could do it, but hey, Frank could do it. You know, but Frank is a specialized strength athlete and has the experience and all that stuff. This is just Ethan Hunt walking into a chamber and it's there presented to him. It's like, you got to do this.
Right.
If it was 125, I think he does it and saves the world. I think he cleans it, but he doesn't get the jerk. And he would have to have the team help him to make it weightless or whatever it is with the gravity things. Or they have some pills that make him Hulk out somehow, you know. All right, so we're saying 300's the limit. He doesn't get it. We're both saying he doesn't get it, or?
Yeah, I would say no. Because again, I think the clean is possible, but he'd have to give it all on the clean.
Yeah. So 300 pounds on the clean and jerk, the mission is impossible. He doesn't do it. Like,
right.
All right, Ethan, you can be in a sinking submarine and do all this crazy stuff, but you are not clean and jerking 300 pounds. Sorry, the world is done. Without help, outside assistance. And anything north of 102 on the snatch, which that might even still be it is a stretch.
Yeah.
He could do 84 and 125, which is 185 and 275. Cold, he's going to save the world. We'll give him that. Being 6 foot, weighing 80 or 180 pounds, and having his gymnastics ability, which for a 6 foot guy is really, really good, you know, and being able to hold his breath for like 10 minutes and flying through the air and doing everything else, we'll give him those numbers.
Right.
But more than likely, he stopped at 102 and 137, 225, 300. Sad day for the world. Without help.
You know, he does fail a lot.
Yes.
But true. It's always the early fail. Like, it's always that first meeting with the villain where he gets got. Like, this, I don't think it would be for the fate of the world. It would be like mid-movie or like first third.
Yeah.
And then that's how he gets like captured. Like, he passes out on the clean and jerk, and then like he ends up in a chair or something.
Yeah. We got him. And then Miguel's there with the knives, ready to torture.
Okay. Right.
Got it. All right. It's a fun thought experiment. You know, I was
but I think he is very much like a gymnast. Like, that's what I always got from those movies of like, I want to be able to do that.
Or maybe like a CrossFitter or like a hybrid type athlete, because like, he can run, he can swim, and he also has that thing where it's like, I'm gonna drive this truck off of this bridge with no plan on what happens after, and just take the bodily impact of all of that. And also, he's been blown up, so like that's where like I think he can go under something.
Yeah.
Whether he finishes it or not, he's at least willing to die trying, right?
Yeah.
That's his whole thing. Okay. Fun thought experiment. What about Tom Cruise? Now, I'll change the question. Tom Cruise comes to Albany, New York, Albany CrossFit. He's like, Miguel, I want to be a weightlifter and be your coach. Do you think he'd be a good student? Do you think he'd be a good student, and do you think he'd progress well?
No, I think he'd hurt himself like pretty early on. I think he gets hurt.
You think he gets hurt?
Yeah.
Interesting. Just because of his personality,
He's an
going to
overdoer.
he's going to overdo it. He's going to maybe do you think maybe at least the first session he's listening to you, and then he starts to like Tom Cruise it up where like he needs to also be the boss?
Well, like he can't be with a team.
Mm-hmm.
Like he can't be there with other people also lifting.
Because he'll want to try to outdo them too fast.
Yeah, or be like, "Oh, they're doing that. I should get there." Or like, "How long do you think it'll take me to get there?" And then he won't like the answer.
Okay. Interesting. I kind of feel the opposite a little bit. I feel like Tom Cruise would be open to doing the work, at least in the beginning. But I do agree with maybe if they're, because like you could say 6 months or whatever, but it could take longer than that. Everybody's different.
Right. That's what
I do think he'd get impatient eventually. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think he quits. I think he hurts himself, which then means like, well, now you have to take time off anyway.
Yeah. If he wasn't going to do that, do you think he'd just be a good, with like the way his physicality is and everything? Because he does train to do like the stunts, and he does the stunts and stuff. I think he has what it takes to be a good weightlifter, and to do well. But I do think maybe even if we're long term or short term, the road does lead to him maybe doing too much eventually, especially if unsupervised. I think I could change him. If we're working one-on-one, I think I could establish the expectations and all that stuff early on, and might even let him fail early on to let him kind of realize, I can't Tom Cruise it up the way I normally would. Like the barbell doesn't care that you're Tom Cruise. I would probably even tell him that. I'm like, at one point you're just not going to beat gravity and you're not strong enough. And I would be brutally honest with him, because I think that's the only way to get through to him. Whether or not he keeps me on is another thing, because he could be one of those guys where like he's just used to having a lot of yes men around him, and they just don't tell him things like they should be. Like, hey, maybe this idea for the last movie isn't the best idea. Like, he's just not going to get that feedback normally, But maybe he would like that and almost crave it a little bit. If he's in the group, though, I think he's a lot harder to manage if he's in the group, just because your attention needs to be on other people too. And I don't think he would respond well to the way that I normally have to do it in the group, where it's like, okay, I need to bring you back to square one. Everybody's doing this, but I'm going to have you maybe do that, or let's work with just these really light weights. I think he'd be one where I'd have to look across the room and be like, what are you doing, Tom? And whatnot. And then although in that situation, I don't know if he fights it back because we're in the group as well. Unless has everybody in the barbell club fed into the Tom Cruise ego, or is everyone kind of being like, yeah, you should listen, kind of a deal?
Well,
yes, the majority of the group also doesn't like Tom Cruise.
I wasn't going to say that, but
yeah. Are you cool with Tom Cruise being on your platform? He's right behind you.
Fine with me.
Yeah, fine with you. So we'd have to put him on your platform. We couldn't.
I don't know if he gets in the room.
You don't think he gets in the room?
No.
Someone stops him from getting in the room?
I just don't. This is a conversation that gets had with the group beforehand. Really? And I don't think he makes it in the vote. Wait,
whoa. You're saying that if Tom Cruise moved to Albany, New York, that and he's like, "Hey, can I sign up for a membership at this gym? I'd like to learn more about snatch and clean jerk. I'm gonna play this weightlifter from the '70s. They're making the movie The White Prisoner with Galibin Boyski, or I'm butchering his name, which he went to prison for smuggling drugs, and he was also the world champion and doing insane weights and stuff. And he would be like around maybe what Tom Cruise is. Like, all right, he's going to play that guy. He's going to play the white prisoner, Galvin. They're making that movie. I want to join the barbell club. I want to learn how to lift, be on a team, all that stuff. You're saying that like Tom Cruise can't just show up, that I should be like, oh, I need to ask the team about this?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Am I forgetting is Tom Cruise why would people be against Tom
He's a
Cruise?
very polarizing figure.
He is? Okay. But people can't put that aside and just
as a part of the team. I mean, he can come to the gym for sure. I don't think he gets the vote training with us.
Really? Wow.
And you have to think, some people think more strongly about it than others, and some people's votes will be influenced by the fact that some people care more than they do.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Because even if I don't care personally, I know that other people do care, which means the team dynamic would then falter.
Yeah. See, I don't even think I would have told you guys. Maybe I would have told you guys in advance, all Tom Cruise is coming, but I definitely wouldn't, because like I have no reason to do a vote for any random person joining, and there could be someone joining that we don't know who they are or what they're all about, but like everybody's equal at the gym, or should be.
Yeah, for sure.
And there shouldn't be politics and religion and we're here for training, and we just happen to know about Tom Cruise's life,
Right. Which is why I think that's why it would come up. I think I don't think you would ask us. I think you would tell us, and then you'd be surprised by how everyone handled it. Really?
And you think if Tom Cruise like showed up and whatnot, and like, hey guys, this is freaking Tom Cruise and whatnot, and he was like, he'd probably be nice and cordial to everybody. Oh, hi, Miguel. All right, how long you been doing it? He'd be very interested in all of you, I imagine, and he would talk to everybody and be kind and courteous, and then he would just do his own thing, and then that would be it. So like, you don't think others in the group would be able just to put aside their personal feelings for a person they don't even know and just let him be in the room and train, and he like would wave to you, and then he just go right behind you and just be following along and have a lot of questions?
Yes. If you sprung it on us and he was already there, I think, yes, he stays for that day. Mm-hmm. But you would definitely have to have a conversation about it after that day. And I don't think it continues.
Wow. Interesting. I don't even know what Tom Cruise has done to warrant this, or I'm forgetting what he has done. All right, why? I don't know. There might be someone listening who's like, "What's the problem with Tom Cruise? What is the problem with Tom Cruise?" Because
he's a polarizing figure.
Scientology?
I mean, it's whatever people have. Well,
all right. It's like he's a polarizing figure, but all right. Do I agree with Scientology and other things? No, but why would I be able to just accept him as a human being and be like, fine, you're here for help. We'll give you help and behave yourself, and I'll treat you like a human being, but you don't think others would be able to do that?
Well, it's not saying not treat him like a human being. Yeah. I think that's different than like bringing him into what we have.
Okay.
Listen, trust me, if there was somebody in our barbell club who had a social media account that was in a certain way, I would say something about it.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, because again, it's a group, right?
Yeah.
Where we have people that represent different things and are a part of different communities. And if there's someone in direct against that, I think everyone would be whatever if they're already there, but it does throw off the group dynamic, I would say. Ethan Hunt is different than Tom Cruise.
Well, yeah. Although he likes to think, I think I think he likes to think different these days. He is Ethan Hunt now. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I guess my argument for it would be, all right, are they saying those things in the room, which that wouldn't be overly acceptable. I don't know. I think I'm maybe more accepting of everybody, you know, um, than maybe others. It's like I'm the doctor in the room. You stepped into the waiting room in the office. I'm gonna try to work with you, so to say. I'm not gonna
No,
deny
yeah, for
service.
sure. I don't think it's not like a he can't use the gym thing. I think our group has a dynamic and a level of safety within the group that if
Mhm.
someone is in direct opposition to that safety, you're then putting the group at risk.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure how it would put the group at risk other than people just disagreeing. Um, and of course you wouldn't want like a heated debate when we're trying to snatch and clean and jerk, or something like that.
Yes, I think you're thinking about it in a little bit more pineapple on pizzas type of way than like
Uh-huh.
a other way.
Yeah. Which is wrong. You shouldn't put pineapple on pizza. Like
Yeah, sure.
if we see that in Tom Cruise's profile, it's like, sir, you have to leave. I'm sorry. You're ruining good pizza. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Well, Tom, if you're out there, stay away. I'm kidding.
You can come to the gym, just not Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6:15.
Interesting. I don't even know how much power I would have over that if he's paying the membership, because it is my department, but that's not my my say. Just I'm the guy in the room. Even though I do try to curate to not protect the group, but to make sure that the work that we're doing is productive and respected, and that it's not a tourist club where you're just going to come in. It's like, are you here to do work, and are you serious or not?
Right.
That's why when people are like, oh, can I just walk in here and do it? No, because I'm not even prepared for you. I'm not even prepared for you. That's why I also prefer people find out what we're about in advance, and then I have to get them on the phone and tell them about what it is that we do. And because I want them to know that, like, before you sign up, are you cool with doing what we're going to do? Like, we're going to snatch and clean jerk and backs and squat 3 days a week. It could be very boring. If you're here for other things, I'm not going to be able to give you those things. And no, you can't do your own programming while the team is doing their own programming.
Right.
That's insane. That's insane. And we also have a finite amount of equipment. We've had to work very hard to get the kilo plates that we have, so we can't have it be like, yeah, you're just going to do your own crazy thing in the corner type of deal. Which that does upset some people, but it's like, hey, I don't have to tell you. I lifted my entire lifting career on pound plates. You can't make that work next door to do your own programming, or do what we're doing for the day and just hop in and enjoy it, that experience. So cool. All right. Well, that was a fun theoretical dealio. I don't think we'll ever get the chance to train Tom Cruise as being a weightlifter. And I'm not even sure if he'd be the best for that role either. Ooh. It's just because of the height and the shaggy hair and whatnot that
I'd have to look the guy up.
Yeah. Great book. I don't know if I still have the book or if I gave it away to one of you guys. But it's called The White Prisoner, and it goes into how he got into weightlifting. It talks about the school system and how he was selected, and then being on the team, and then the coaching staff and all that stuff, and how they would kind of make decisions on like who gets the win. Like it goes into like the behind the scenes stuff with that,
Right.
And being number one in the world, and then all the drug stuff as well. And then how his life kind of turned out, which actually I don't know beyond that where he is right now, if he's even still alive. But yeah, I don't think that might be another fun thought experiment on like, who are these like historical weightlifting figures? And if you're going to make a movie on their life, who should play them? Kind of deal. And then who would actually do the training, or would they CGI all of it? That would be and that's the thing. You couldn't have anyone snatch or clean jerk the weights this guy was doing while he was weighing 65 kilos or whatever it was. So you would have to do some stuff like that. But I think to make it authentic, you would have to have them snatch and clean and jerk some weight to make them their effort and everything look real. Then CGI the real plates on there. That's got to be a thing where like they'd have green plates, or like you could make like these special plates probably that like look the widths, and then but they're not, but like still make it weigh 80 kilos, so which is tough for the actor, and it looks like the effort, and then you just CGI the real weights on there somehow. I'm sure there's a way you could do it.
Yeah.
And then when like the camera pans to like the computer monitor or someone watching on TV, you just have original footage if you can at that point. You know, I've seen a couple movies do that recently where they'll have the actor do the thing, but then like it shows someone watching and you're like, oh, they're just playing the actual real footage. I think that's the movies that do that. I think it's a really cool like blend of everything. I don't need it to be Tom Cruise on the TV screen too. It's cool to see the real guy do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take me out of the movie that they don't look exactly alike. Cool. Awesome. Alrighty. Well, we'll come back to that question soon, and then maybe we'll build a training plan for Tom Cruise. Or we won't. It's exactly what we do. He would just do exactly what we do. That's it. Miguel, any closing thoughts on anything we've talked about?
No. I mean, I'd like to see what Ethan Hunt can do CrossFit-wise. Maybe.
Oh, boy.
Gymnastics-wise, but yeah.
I did think about that a little bit. I think he would excel more because you've already mentioned he's more gymnastic-y guy. I think the thing would be like, all right, you have to do this workout. Like, all right, sub 30 Murph. Could he do it? You know, I think he could. I think he'd run so hard. Like that's one of his like things. If he's already chasing down or running after cars and stuff, if you just told him he had to do that and then do pull-ups, push-ups, and air squats, does he get dinged if they're not the standard?
Well, that's a conversation for another time.
People are already doing Murph with a vest, not the standard. It's notorious for like bad reps. Maybe there's a thing where like a thing beeps if his chest hits. Like the villain would figure out ways to make it register whether it was good or not, and the bomb doesn't go off if he gets a no rep. It's extra work he's got to do. You know, the AI will watch his pull-ups and be like, nope, your arm's going straight on that one, something like that. I think he does it. I think Ethan Hunt has a sub 30 Murph. It's like a 29 something, right? He would get it just in the there. Do you think he would do? All right, real quick. Do you think Ethan Hunt would do a sub 30 Murph?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah, I that seems way easier for him than to snatch 84. You know, but he would do that. Okay, I think we'd have to think of some tough CrossFit tests then, and like what is the benchmark? Does he have to beat the fittest person that year that did that workout at the games? Beat their time or something? When would it stop? When would he run out of gas? I don't know if he runs out of gas. Knowing the character, I think that's a guy that's still running hard no matter what. That's still I don't know what push-up failure looks like for Ethan Hunt because I literally can't picture him doing it, you know. I think no matter how much it burns or whatnot, like you're just going to get that hanging onto the side of the building type of effort, you know, life or death. That is also another thing we don't have to like mirror with it. Like we don't know what the games athletes or weightlifters doing those weights in a life or death situation looks like either, you know. We just have Tom Cruise flying a bus off of a bridge type of effort to go off of it. We know he will do it. That's the thing. We know he'll do everything he can to try. Okay. We'll talk more about that another time. But at least I think, he could do Murph sub 30. He's going to hit the stimulus at most workouts I think we give him in regular class. Yeah. We'd have to find a tough enough test. This might, yeah, we'll have to look at some open workouts, something like that. All right. He'd qualify for the games. If that was the, all right, is that, there's another test. Would, if they're like, hey, you're going to go through the open and then do all the semifinal stuff, do you think Tom, and that's the mission. He needs to qualify for the games to go to the games because he needs to be there and stuff's happening at the games. You think he would qualify for the CrossFit Games?
Yeah, if he needed to.
If he needed to. And that could be a situation where he's at one of the in-person events. They're only taking 2 people. Now you got Benji and others on the computer manipulating things too that he wins. And would we allow another person to be there with a mask on of who was supposed to be the judge there, and they're giving him some good reps when there shouldn't be good reps? Like, I don't know. What would we allow? I think that's all fair game.
Yeah.
I think that's how he qualifies for the games, actually. Some judge trickery a little bit.
I mean, I would probably just wear a mask of whoever already qualified.
Oh, that too. Yeah. All right. He just shows up as Ricky Gerard. He's qualified, right? Yeah. So he just so like they put Ricky to sleep. They make a mask. He shows up as Ricky at the games. Okay. You can see that too. We'll expand more into this, but now you got me thinking about it. It's a fun thing to kind of think about. I think he's the only person that can do it. I don't think James Bond is doing this stuff. You know, he's not as physical of a dude. I think Ethan Hunt is the only one, maybe.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Where can people follow you, Miguel?
Couldn't it be Miguel on Instagram?
Cool. Follow me, James A. McDermott, Albany CrossFit Barbell Club, Albany CrossFit. Let us know what you think about this theoretical situation, if you want to. Schaff, let us know. Think Ethan Hunt can do it or not. He's our one known listener. So, all right, cool. Well, everyone, thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week with more. And end stream.